You know it's Don coming back with madness, back with another video that's definitely gonna ruffle some feathers. For this video, I'm ranking every Dragon Ball arc, movie, and special. Now I'm not including OG Dragon Ball movies before Dead Zone, before Garlic Jr. because nobody really cares about those. They're not bad, they're just boring. Nobody really cares about those. And not including specials as in Heroes of video game stuff, just the history of Trunks and the Bardock specials. And since it's at the start, let me note as well, I put all the Dragon Ball stuff together pre 23rd World Tournament. Basically, as they call it, the Boyhood Saga and Dokkan, and I think some other stuff. I put it all together because it feels like just one long, ongoing arc. And I would honestly put it in heat. Now, before y'all say, oh, basic shonen, he can't live without his top tier fights and all this. I get that it was trying to do something completely different. I like adventure anime. It's just for this one, again, it's still in heat. That means it's way more good than bad. But it was still parts where I was kind of bored. The Red Ribbon Army stuff I wasn't that hype about. King Piccolo, the way he was kind of brought into the story with the Pilaf gang finding his bottle or whatever, it was kind of goofy. And the Mystic Water training, it was some stuff that I just found kind of just lazy. But for the most part, it was heat, especially World Tournament. Not only the fights, but the story around the World Tournament characters like Nam and all of them. Like I liked all of that as well. The interactions between all of these characters, and it was still well rounded for the most part. But it still has like some flaws, some notable flaws. Now with Universe 6 versus 7, I honestly forget this arc even exists. When I talk about Super, I always forget to mention this arc because it's honestly forgettable. The only good thing about it was the Goku versus Hit fight. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, even Hit's character introduction, like he was introduced as an assassin, but they put him in a situation where he couldn't kill. Twice. Twice. They put him in two arcs where he couldn't kill. What was the point? What was the point? Like it would have been cool if they put him in an arc where he couldn't kill and immediately followed that up with something where he could, so you could really see him go all out. Yeah, they did that little filler junk where he was hunting down Goku, but he just one shotted him. I get that was the point, but we wanted to see him like have a real scrapping match, him pull out abilities that we didn't get to see and all. Yeah, feel me. But that fight was still hard. They still had some hard moments, some hard character interactions. I don't like how Cabo was able to box up with basically God infused Vegeta. That's always a thing Super will get hate on because of the weird power scaling where characters are able to touch characters that they should not. Boo going to sleep honestly is a huge setback for me because they have this character with all these unique abilities, this completely different character, and they just not gonna use him. They did that twice, just like they did Hit dirty twice. Yeah, and Piccolo like fourth didn't he didn't Piccolo forfeit the tournament, bro? It's a lot of stuff I dislike about this, but it's a lot of stuff I like about it. I like it's really if you turn your brain off, you'll like it type thing. I know Dragon Ball Z is focused on fights, but you still you still pay attention to the story. You still not gonna let the story duke in your face. You feel me? As long as the story is consistent and fair, I'm cool with it. It doesn't have to be deep, just consistent and fair. Superhero, straight dookie. I dislike it for a lot of reasons. One, obviously the animation. I grew to like it a little bit more than I did before, but that was going from a zero to a one. You feel me? I still think every single thing here looks way better visually. Even the Super Saiyan Bardock special, even that one, which was just kind of done randomly for some reason, even that one looks way better than this movie in my eyes. The characters, I didn't really care for Gamma 1 and 2. Cell Max being a final hidden villain, but just being a brainless monster. What was the point of keeping him secret if that's all he was going to be? Maybe because they nobody was going to buy the tickets. Let's be honest. Uh, Dr. Hito and all of them was lame. Honestly, Jiro was cooler. The Red Ribbon Army, like in OG Dragon Ball, was way cooler. Them, they're just kind of regular businessmen dudes. It's just all basic. And Piccolo, basically, then they telling him like, "Hey, you can save the world with the Dragon Balls, right?" Piccolo like, "I'm good. Let me just get a little power up. Let me get a little power up, and I'll be good." Stupid. Piccolo pulling Gohan out of being a scholar, basically saying, "I don't care what you want to do with your life. You're gonna do what I want you to do with your life. I trained you for all this time, and I'm not gonna let you waste it doing what you want to do." It's out of character for him. Maybe for Vegeta, if this happened during like the Buu saga and Goku was still dead and Vegeta trying to pull him out to make him to be a Saiyan, that'd be a different story. But it would seem it wouldn't. I don't know, bro. And then them redoing the same plot with Gohan over and over and over and over again, where he stops training, he gets lazy, and they got to pull him back into fighting shape. They've done this so many times. Even if you only talk about the canon story, not including like movies and stuff like that, it's just Still the same BS. Still the same BS over and over and over again. And I get tired of seeing it. Yeah. Beast Gohan looked cool. So what? So what? Before y'all get to typing in the comments, Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo look cool. So what? Wasted on a garbage villain in a garbage movie. Uh, you gonna hear this a lot with GT. It's just all wasted potential. It's not terrible. It's just it could have been way better. And you see that it could be way better. Baby was a cool villain. I like that they tied it back in with the Saiyans. That's one thing I like about GT is that they kind of go full circle with the story. The fights was good and all that. It's really just the story itself for this arc and it building off of the Black Star arc, which was also, you know. And another thing with Oob, we finally was getting to see Oob, but he was just thrown to the side, thrown into the trash can again. He had one moment, but yeah. This arc is only wasted potential. That's the only negatives of it. It had cool moments. It's if you was to watch it in movie form, it'd be good type arc, but watching it as a series, nah, nah. Honestly, if they condensed this into a movie and just dropped it as that, probably be way better. Definitely be way better if you're not worried about like a story. Father of Goku, peak. I would put it in peak. They didn't try to write Bardock as some secret hero, some lover, somebody who was so it's just good person, this superhero type character. They wrote him as the Saiyan, as the Saiyans were described. He wasn't fighting because he loved everybody. He was fighting because that's what he was trained to do. He was trained to fight to the last breath. That's what Saiyans do. He wasn't gonna give up. He literally threw his last shot of energy. When he could have ran away, could have survived. That's his thing. He was gonna die on the battlefield. That's how he was raised. I like that they just showcase his character in perfect light, the way that we would expect to see his character acting. No BS. Yeah, I liked it. I definitely liked it. He can have a heart. I'm just saying like it's more in line with the way the sands were described. This is what it's the way I'm trying to put it. It was just beautiful. And the setting of it, beautiful. It's just beautiful story. Everything about it, beautiful and well told. This story though, Dookie, Dookie. For starters, the biggest thing that I think everybody has an issue with is the fact that at the end of the arc, they reset the timeline, meaning all those people that Trunks spent all that time fighting for, all of them, they don't exist anymore. They went to a new timeline, created a new timeline where all those people don't exist. It's a variant of them, but it's not them. I'm pretty sure there's even a variant of Trunks and Mai in that timeline. It's just like, what was the point then? What was the point? They were gonna have them go and fight to save that timeline just for that timeline to be erased because Merge Zamasu got struck by lightning in his weird form and merged with the universe somehow. And then them forgetting the seal for the Mafuba. That's like Trunks going back in time for getting a heart virus medication. You would be like, what type of story is this? Like, bro, it was just so goofy, bro. Like Goku going to Earth for getting a Pataria ring. I know that Gohan dropped it, but for getting it would be 10 times worse. It just felt so goofy. Like they just wanted to stretch this arc. And then Trunks' spirit bomb sword. What was that? This man just unlocked the spirit bomb. I'm surprised they didn't use no BS explanation like King Kai saying, well, really anybody can learn the spirit bomb if their heart is big enough. I'm surprised they didn't pull that out of their cheeks. I'm surprised. At least that BS excuse would be better than no excuse. Like, oh, it had Vegito Blue. So what? Throwing gold into a bowl of poop. It doesn't make it less of a bowl of poop. It's still a bowl of poop. I don't really care, bro. And Vegito Blue wasn't even all that hard to me anyway. Like, if he had a good fight with Murray Zamasu, I might put it up a tier. But the fight wasn't even really all that anyway. He kind of threw some punches, but fight was over way too quick. I mean, yeah, I knew it wasn't going to end right there anyway because they did that exact same thing in the Buu saga. It's just, nah, nah. 23rd World Tournament, straight peak. Tournament was just beautiful. Beautiful. Stories they was telling within it, every single fight, it was all perfect. There's not much for me to say about it because it was just all perfect. It hit every single note that it was trying to hit. What more could a man ask for? Lower Slug movie, honestly, I would put it in good. I don't like the way that they kind of like. I like foreshadowing, but them putting the whistling junk in the beginning, like you knew that they were gonna use that at the end of the movie. I don't like foreshadowing that slaps you in the face. Outside of that, he's a King Piccolo clone. I wouldn't take a whole bunch of points off of that if he's still kind of cool. He is still kind of cool in his own way. Had good fights in it, a lot of good fights, even with side characters. I like it when they use side characters. So I like stuff like Bleach a lot because they utilize every single character. And honestly, it was just a good movie. You wouldn't say it was heat, wouldn't say it was perfect, but it was still a good movie that I enjoyed. This one, I'd probably put it in mid. I like the stuff where they was boxing with the army, but outside of that, I didn't really care for this movie. Like the end of the movie where they got grabbed up and Goku overpowered Cooler by like charging his energy, and then the way they defeated Cooler just kind of felt like he brought him to their he brought Goku and Vegeta into his weak spot, the core of him, to basically his heart. I felt like that was just a stupid way to end it, where he just brought him to the weak spot, kind of like Garlic Jr. opening up the dead zone, the one thing that could defeat him. It was just kind of like what, but yeah. For the most part, like outside of that, outside of Goku and Vegeta boxing with the army, how did Vegeta get to Namek? Maybe didn't Vegeta just magically appear on Namek? Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I'm pretty sure he just magically appeared to Namek. But yeah, yeah, yeah. All that aside, this movie is just kind of okay. It's just kind of okay. This movie, or I'm talking about the show here, this arc in the anime, trash. We already know the visuals was trash. That's the same thing with everything in Super Pre-Tournament of Power. The art is trash. Even when it's not at its lowest, even when it's at its best, again, Pre-Tournament of Power, even when it's at its best, it's still not topping even OG Dragon Ball. Even this movie, where I feel like it had the weakest animation in all of Z movies, even this movie still had way better visuals than anything, even the best moments in Dragon Ball Super. Again, Pre-Tournament of Power. Outside of the visuals, again, another power scaling thing where you got Frieza soldiers being able to even touch Z fighters, modern day Z fighters. It's kind of crazy. They had this big anticipation for Ginyu coming back into the series as a frog. He was still hopping around there just for him to get wasted in this arc when he could have been a current member of Frieza's crew. They could have saved him for that, but they wasted him for no reason. It's just stupid. And Golden Frieza wasn't really all that menacing because everybody was so weak around him. He just kind of felt like a Mike Tyson surrounded by a bunch of kids. Of course, you mean I would look like a beast surrounded by a bunch of kids. You feel me? It just wasn't really that intimidating. And Super Saiyan Blue was trash. Super Saiyan Blue is the lamest transformation that they've ever introduced. So yeah, trash. This movie is just trash. Or arc. Let me say arc. The movie is just slightly better. Namek Saga, perfect. Just like 23rd World Tournament, it did everything it's trying to do. At no point do you get bored, just like in a 23rd World Tournament. Like Goku versus Chi Chi Junk, even that was still interesting. Still love to see it. Namek Saga, Gohan and Krillin run away from Dodoria and all of that stuff. Like you can jump to a random episode of this arc and still have fun with it. It was enjoyable all around. It's just nothing bad to note about it, honestly. If you want to say the length, sure, but I mean, I wouldn't call the length a negative because when you go back to watch something, I would rather watch 100 episodes of a 12 episodes because 12 episodes you just finish in the day and you forget you watched it. This is something that's gonna stick with you forever, forever, for real, for real. Cell Saga, kind of say the same stuff. I say the same stuff. I know that like Toriyama was definitely like coming up with stuff on the fly. Like I'm sure y'all seen the interviews or the writers room. They was like, I don't think you should do this, add this, add this. So I know they was coming up with stuff on the fly, but he still found a way to make it feel like it flowed together, and I like that. I like that you don't notice that in the story that you can see. I mean, there is some like stuff like Trunks saying something about 19 and 20 or whatever and stuff like that, but it's not something that I noticed as an average viewer. I loved it all around. I still think Frieza is cooler than Cell, but that's just a comparison thing. I still think Cell is right in his own way. Still a goaded arc, and it has Super Saiyan 2 and introduced Trunks. It's top tier and introduced the androids. I love the androids. It's top tier, bro. Top tier. Broly second coming. I would put it in heat only because the beginning of the movie with the Videl stuff and then finding the Dragon Balls was kind of boring. That was it. That was my only negative to this movie. And honestly, Where are you at? Where are you at? I'll put the first Broly movie in number one because it hits the exact same notes. It's just as hard. It's just that beginning part was kind of boring. And Legendary Super Saiyan, the original one, it was just good, start to finish. Now I still say the Gohan versus Broly fight was better than the Goku versus Broly fight. You can fight me on that one, but I still say Gohan had a better fight. But that one little thing in the beginning just sets it back. Still both pretty peak for the most part. Wrath of the Dragon is something that tried to do something differently and did it flawlessly. Even though Hirudegan was a brainless villain like Cell Max, he at least was cool. They made him a Godzilla type of character. And they made it work, and they still gave you characters like Tapion, who was goated. They introduced a character in a movie and got rid of that character in that movie and still made you like it. When you can introduce a character and it makes you like that character within a minute, like it's just they did everything, man. They even gave Trunks a little story in this episode while still having the main character do stuff. This was like, again, what more could you ask for in a movie that's well rounded? My lips is kind of dry right now. I'm not gonna lie. Super 13, I would say is mid. I think I like it more than other people do, but not that much more. I think I like Super 13. I think I called him Super 17. I think I like Super 13 more as a character than other people. I don't like how he loses his cold personality, his cold evil country personality when he transforms. He just becomes another like brute basically. But outside of that, I mean, this movie was solid. I would probably put it in good if it wasn't for that, if he still had more character in his Super 13 form. And the fights weren't crazy. The fights were like good at best, but nothing outside of that. Yeah, I feel like I like this movie a little bit more if they didn't do that with like his blue form. But that absorbing the spirit bomb junk was still definitely hype. I would put it higher, but I don't think so. Dead Zone, I definitely put in heat. It's known for its goated fights, and honestly, it doesn't really have many flaws. It's more of that it just isn't as hype as all the other ones. Like I feel like the other ones had way more hyper moments. That one had goated fights, but the stakes didn't really feel all that there, especially like with the end and him just getting pushed into the dead zone. Like I feel like that's something I would take a point anyway. But I feel like as a whole, the movie just isn't as hype all the way throughout compared to the top ones. That's it. The movie really has no real flaws, and the fights are still some of the best fights you see in the entire series. Even in just the first movie, it was good. It was definitely a good movie. Super Saiyan Bardock. I think this is called the episode of Bardock. Would I put it in good or mid? I would put it in good because it didn't really like try to explain what was going on. It was more of just trying to give you more Bardock, what the fans wanted, and it did it. That's all it was really trying to do, give you more Bardock, what the fans wanted, and it did it. It was still pretty hype, honestly, even though you didn't know how he really got there and they never explained that. I mean, it was just a special, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway, but still. They just simply did one thing, they wanted to do it, and they did it. And I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Black Star Saga, I did not enjoy it. I thought it was straight trash. I honestly thought this arc was probably the worst arc, worst anything on this entire list. They tried to like pull in old fans with nostalgia. They tried to go on another Dragon Ball hunting journey. They was trying to tie it back with the old series, trying to go for those same vibes. But they failed to realize that I would say a majority of Dragon Ball fans, modern Dragon Ball fans, came in through Z. I would say more Dragon Ball fans came in through Z than they came in through Dragon Ball. And even then, I feel like more OG Dragon Ball fans probably grew to like Z more than they did Dragon Ball. So you can't do a callback to that series when a lot of the people watching it is people who've been just watching Z. And it's a continuation of Z. To note that as well, it's a continuation of Z. So people are going to be fresh off of Z and they going back to Adventureland. It's just not the right tone to set for the new series that's taking place after the Buu saga, after Ultimate Gohan, Majin Vegeta. It's not the right tone to pick up a story with. And Kid Goku being Kid Goku, that's also another like, why would you do it idea. I still stand by the idea that if they would have did this with Gohan, because remember, Kid Gohan is Cell Saga Gohan. You feel me? The Gohan that everybody loves. If they would have did this with Gohan, this entire GT as a whole would have probably been way more well loved. It would have. It would have. I'm being honest with you. Tournament of Power is going to be one of the weirdest ones because I would put it in heat, even though it has a ton of flaws, a ton of stuff I don't like about it. But I feel like the UI Goku stuff, puts it so high because the UI Goku stuff is some of the best stuff you see in the entire franchise. It's just all hard moments every time this man goes into UI. The reason I say it has a lot of flaws is because one, again, the hit stuff, them bringing back Hit just to not be able to kill again, just to throw this man as a sideline character. He got out in the middle of the tournament, basically. Like, why? Like, why? Jiren's backstory has always been clowned on because they gave him a generic backstory. I do like how they didn't try to make him a villain, though. They just made him another person fighting for his universe. And I do like that because it wouldn't make sense for every single character there to be like a super villain. And outside of that, it's just a lot of stuff like underutilized. Like they wasted Krillin. Tien only got one. Tien only got one knockout, and it was basically with himself included. Even though he could have just thrown three clones on the edge, off the edge, because one of them was just sitting there. Was just sitting there. He could have thrown three clones off the edge and took that dude out, but he wanted to fly down with him, bro. At least that's how I remember it. And it's some like goofs and gaffs with this arc, but I feel like, especially with the stuff like the prelims fight or whatever, I think that's what it was. Like Goku versus the trio D Danger. Those fights were all like all goaded, all hype. And then they wasted Majin Buu again though. So yeah, this has way more negatives than anything else up here, but the positives strike so high. And of course, the I forgot to mention the back tingly powers. Let me go Super Saiyan with my back. Stupid. BoJack, honestly, the movie felt so short and fast. Pause, bro. I feel like that's plausible right there. Honestly, I put it in Heat because it felt so short, but it had so many hype moments. Like Trunks got the fight Tien, something I never thought I wanted to see, but I love to see it. Two of my favorite characters scrapping. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is always a pleasure to see. Goku coming back down from heaven to punch BoJack. Even though BoJack wasn't the hypest villain, and they kind of left that him being taken down by the Kais and stuff untapped, which doesn't really make any sense. Unless it's Supreme Kai, I guess, but Supreme Kai probably couldn't beat Cell. So, nah, I wouldn't say that anyway. Never mind. Never mind. You know, that stuff kind of doesn't make sense. They still had this movie. This movie was still pretty hype. Tree of Might, I didn't like as much as everybody else. So I didn't think Turles was that cold. Uh, the Z Fighters, again, I like seeing other characters do stuff, but the Z Fighters got washed by the henchmen. So, of course, that's another, you feel me? Great Ape Gohan and Icarus. Like, what? It was kind of goofy. I didn't really care much for this movie. It still had some hard moments. Uh, that's really it. It had some good moments, but it had a lot of stuff that I just wasn't really that for. Honestly, I'd probably put it in good. Definitely good. I definitely enjoyed this movie more than I did these two, so I'd probably just put it in good. I feel like that's kind of fair. Bio Broly, trash, trash. The one thing I don't get about this is that it came out around the time, maybe a little after Gotenks was created in the manga. So why didn't they use Gotenks in this movie? I'm not talking about the timeline or anything like that. I'm saying the writers, like it would have been perfect. And then the way they did Majin Buu, how they had Goku, Ultimate Gohan, and Goku fight Majin Buu at one point in the series. It would have been perfect to have Goku fight Broly first, then Gohan in the next second movie, and then Gotenks in the third movie. It would have been perfect. But yeah, wasted potential. And then they made Broly a mindless slime monster. Why? They had a why make him a mindless slime monster, bro? They should have known that this movie is not gonna work. The visuals for this movie was amazing, but that's it. Uh, Cool as Revenge. I mean, it's basically a clone of the Namek Saga, but just a well condensed version of it. Hits hard just like it. It was goaded. It was goaded. Just a contained version of what the Frieza Saga was. Goaded. Fusion Reborn is another one that's goaded. I don't need to explain this much because it's not controversial at all. Top tier movie. Uh, yeah, it's not much I can really say about it. I don't know why they changed the art style for the Earth stuff. Like why they made the characters like thick or whatever. Not thick like, you feel me, thick like the lines on the characters. They did some weird stuff with the art style. It wasn't like bad. It was just some side stuff. But I was like, I don't know why they did that. But again, it's not a takeaway from the movie with Janemba being a goaded villain, the setting. I mean, my background is literally the setting of the movie. Everything in this movie is just hard. It's just hard. It's hard. World's Strongest. This movie was trying to do something else, kind of like Wrath of the Dragon, but it just didn't do it that well. Honestly, I just say it's kind of mid. It's not much I really got. It's not much for me to note about this movie because it was just kind of forgettable. I forget that I watched it every time. I forget what it was even about a lot of times. It was just kind of It's kind of lame. Sand Saga was a perfect way to start off Z, a perfect way to like set the tone for the story, introduce Vegeta and set his story up for the Frieza Saga and stuff like that. They just another one that's just kind of perfect. They did everything that they needed to do. Another one that I would say is perfect. All they were doing was telling the story of Trunks, and they told it perfectly. They even showed Trunks going back and Heat Dome attacking Cell away. He got his get back on the androids. Satisfying story to watch. The visuals were goaded too. Yeah, another one that's just it just did everything it was trying to do. Battle of Gods. We're talking about the anime here. Mid. It's basically what the Frieza Saga did, but a little, or the Golden Frieza Saga did, but a little bit better. The visuals were just as bad though. God Goku was slightly cooler than Blue Goku, but still pretty lame. Z Fighters getting fodderized by Beerus makes more sense than Frieza Soldiers, and the Goku versus Beerus fight was better than the Frieza fight. Oh, I forgot to mention about the resurrection of Frieza. The way Whis kind of just intervened, even though he's not supposed to. At least I think he is, unless they made some BS rule that I don't remember, where he could rewind the world and save all of Goku's friends. Maybe I don't remember it, but yeah, pretty stupid. Another GT arc where it's just wasted potential, where you see that the Shadow Dragons could have been way colder. Honestly, I would probably put it in the mid. But the ending of this arc had one like the spear bomb, and then him Goku leaving with Shenron and stuff like that. That ending from the spear bomb to the end of it honestly hit harder than almost anything in the series. Like top 5 moments in the series as a whole, I would probably say. That part alone kind of makes me want to put it higher. And it was still some enjoyable stuff about this arc. Omega Shenron was cool. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I feel like it's fair to put this higher. Cause I like the ending bits with Omega Shenron, but the build up to it, nah, it was kind of boring. Still say I enjoyed it more than all of these here. All of them. I definitely would say that. Super Broly, I mean, not much to say. Top tier. I did like the old Broly more, but he had a backstory where all he did was cry. I don't care about that. I don't care about the backstory. I truly can care less. Broly was still a hype villain, and that's all that really mattered. They still had a wrathful Saiyan showing what a Saiyan really is capable of, and it was hard. I still like that Broly more. He had more victims to foderize than this Broly. This one was more of a just a regular 2v1 type junk. I still liked them. I still think it was peak. It was just when you try to compare it to something else, you might not like it the same. But on its own, I would still say it was peak. Super 17. I want to put this one in good too. But like, hmm. Because this was only 7 episodes. It was really only 7 episodes. So it's not like I was like watching 20 episodes and was getting bored and nothing like that. I like the beginning of it with the whole Krillin stuff like that. That junk honestly hit and catch you off guard. It completely caught me off guard. But with it being 7 episodes, they didn't explain nothing at all without 17 got there. And of course, they could have did way more with the Hell Outbreak. They basically could have just did the Janemba movie, but merged it. The potential was there. But potential aside, honestly, it was just enjoyable. It was only like a couple of episodes long, and the Goku versus 17 fight was good, and it was just good. Yeah, it was good. Again, if it was way longer, it would probably be way more boring. But yeah, it was kind of like a movie basically. If they would have dropped this as a movie, would have definitely did way more numbers. Would have had more fans. Ended off with the Boo Saga. I would put this in heat. I feel like my main thing with this art is that they had characters do all of this stuff like Gotenks, Majin Vegeta, Ultimate Gohan. They had them do all this, but it didn't amount to nothing. I get it got them more time and stuff like that, but a lot of it just felt like a whole lot of nothing. It felt like they weren't doing anything. They weren't amounting to nothing after all the time we spent watching them do stuff. Now, still watching them do it was still top tier, but it sometimes feels like a slap in the face when that something doesn't matter. You feel me? But that's my only issue with this arc is that a lot of the stuff they do amounts to nothing. Everything else about this arc, I loved it. Loved the beginning of it with Goten meeting Goku and all that, the training stuff and all. I loved it all. It was just that one nitpick that sets it back. It's a big enough nitpick to where I would drop it a tier. But honestly, I feel satisfied with this list. Yeah, I definitely feel satisfied with this list. I want to say the Black Goku arc might be a little bit higher, but it really wasn't. They just kind of regressed Trunks' character, where his whole thing was that he was He learned how to take care of his future on his own. They even ended off the special with him beating Cell and all that, showing that he can take care of his world now. And then him just going back in time like, Goku, Poppy, I need your help. Goku. Like, I get he had no other choice, but honestly, they could have just given a Black Goku arc without Goku and all of them in it. And just showed Trunks dealing with the situation himself. Honestly, I would have been for that more. I would have been way more for that if it was just Trunks. I know he shouldn't. No, wouldn't he say he shouldn't be able to beat him? I mean, still just like a Kai. Trunks could have found a way, bro. I would have loved to see Trunks actually use his resources, kind of like in that Dragon that untalked about, forgettable Dragon Ball game that they dropped, where you kind of surviving from the Dragon Ball Breakers. Watching Trunks in that situation, but actually winning, would have been fun. But no, he had to scurry his little tail away. But yeah, honestly though, I feel satisfied with this list. I feel satisfied with this list. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's been a long video. Join the Discord, subscribe to YouTube, check the TikTok, all the stuff in the bio or the description, and I'm out.